Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. Uh, yeah. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant today because I have been reading a lot of crap that has just been annoying the hell out of me. So, without any further ado, Kotaku. If those of you that have no idea what in the hell Kotaku is a website where they publish stories about everything from video games to, just random bullshit clickbait, like all the time. They're part of the Gawker thing, which again, half the time is just people airing other people's dirty laundry so that people will read it. I have very little to no respect for Kotaku. For a number of reasons, probably the biggest of which being uh, that they claim to be this journalistic integral part of society when in all actuality they are ambulance chasers, for lack of a better word. They look for drama and then they report it to the world to try and get people to view them and so they can make money off of it. They really don't care about sharing information. They care about sharing, getting money. And I can support that by looking at all the articles they publish that have nothing to do with informing the public about things that they need to know about and everything to do about spreading gossip. Recently, Kotaku published an article where they talk about how they were blacklisted by Bethesda and Ubisoft for two different incidents. They were blacklisted by Bethesda for leaking early information about Fallout 4, and they were blacklisted by Ubisoft for releasing information about Assassin's Creed. I think it was Unity that they leaked information about. And they are taking the road of, hey, we were just doing our job. It is our jobs as journalists to get information out there so that the people can be informed. And Bethesda and Ubisoft have not responded correctly uh, to them basically throwing a little temper tantrum like a spoiled baby. It's not fair. I want free games. So, yeah, basically what's been happening to them is Ubisoft and Bethesda will no longer give them review copies. Um, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the practice, companies that make video games will release what are called review copies so that the gaming press can play the game, give their review, and it's part of a marketing budget, and it's specifically done by the game companies to build hype and sell their games better. It works best with good games. I've never quite understood the companies that create really, really horrible games and then send out review copies because that just doesn't make sense. And not every company in the world does this. And a company that does this doesn't even have to do it for every single game. There have been quite a few games that have come out recently that a lot of people have been surprised that review copies were never sent out, or they would put basically gag orders on any of the reviews until a certain time and a certain date. And again, it's all about marketing. Due to the fact that I am currently studying marketing and plan to make a career of it, I understand a lot of the more difficult aspects of it. And the control of information and putting out the right information at the right time is integral to a marketing campaign, because the entire purpose of a marketing campaign is to paint a very specific picture so that you can sell the product the way you want to sell it. It's very, very difficult. It involves literally thousands of hours and sometimes hundreds of people to build a really well done marketing campaign. And when companies like Kotaku, under the guise of, well, we're the press and we must release all the information ever, uh, do leaks and things like that, especially significantly before, like the Fallout 4 leak happened like almost a full 2 years before any information was officially available about Fallout 4. And that creates massive issues for marketing people in general. Mostly because at that point, 2 years ago, Fallout 4 was a very different game. I will guarantee it, because 2 years ago, uh, they've had 2 years to change and improve the game and test it. And so there's a 100% very good chance that these leaked information that at that point might not have made it into the main game. But due to these leaks, they really had no choice. Either they get rid of the whatever that was leaked, and then have to deal with the PR backlash when it's not there, because these websites have created very bad situations that they now have to deal with, or they have to sit there and start changing things and start working things so that what the audience is preparing for, even though nothing was released specifically about it, uh, is in there, because if they don't, they're going to be crucified through no fault of their own, through some journalists deciding that they want to make a lot of money off of getting information about a game that is nowhere near ready for release. So yeah, Kotaku is making this big stink about, I can't believe we've been blacklisted. This really isn't fair. And just throwing a big temper tantrum. Forbes Games, I used to have the utmost respect for Forbes in general. I think it's a phenomenal website. I go to it for a lot of my business news. I have no respect for Forbes Games anymore, because they wrote an entire article talking about basically the idea of how marketing and journalism are and should be always at odds, because marketers are liars and journalists tell nothing but the truth, which is 100% false. They're, like me personally, the marketing that I have done has been 100% truthful, because that's the kind of marketing I prefer to do. Now, I am at the very beginning of my marketing career, and all of the stuff that I have done has mostly been for free, for things that I do myself, helping out other groups that I know very well. So I am by no means a professional marketing person. However, the idea that marketing people in marketing are specifically there to deceive and lie to people is 100% a falsehood. Are there a lot of marketing people that do that? To be perfectly honest, I don't know. With the way that uh, laws are and consumer laws are, it's actually unbelievably difficult for marketing people to get away with lying and misleading their fans. So it's actually in our best interest to only speak truth. So yeah, and the idea that journalists only speak the truth and it's their job to get information is a bold-faced lie, because I've seen it time and time again in traditional media and journalism. You see stories that are either outright lies or lies by massive amounts of omissions. You see opinion pieces uh, that are put out as fact. You see a lot of reporting on things that cannot be confirmed as fact over and over again. And you see it. That's one of the reasons why the Gamergate controversy happened, was because games journalism in general and journalism just as a whole has a massive problem with ethical behavior. And they will say things specifically to get people to view their page so they can make money off of it. Kotaku is one of the worst offenders. There have been many situations over the past year or so where Kotaku has been brought to the forefront as, I don't even believe you're reporting on this. There's literally no good that can come from reporting on this particular piece of information. It's simply idle gossip. And they do this all the time. And now they're getting in trouble for it. And I think rightly so. If you want, so for those of you that don't know, I don't get review copies. Even though I am a media figure, I have over 100 subscribers on YouTube. I don't get review copies. Or let me rephrase that. I've gotten one review copy in the entire time I've been doing this YouTube thing. And you want to know why? You want to know why Bethesda doesn't give me review copies and Ubisoft doesn't give me review copies? Because I'm not worth it. If they give me a review copy of Fallout 4 and I play it and I make a review for it, like my review, TJ Plays, what was it, Lux Deluxe, I think has a few hundred views, which is really cool. Like I'm super super proud of that. How many copies of Lux Deluxe do you think my review helped sell? Very few. Um, However, it was a great learning experience for me. I hope the people at Lux Deluxe um, were happy with the review that I shot out. I did enjoy the game, and so the review I posted was, for the most part, positive. I did point out quite a few of the issues I had with it, and I thought it went well. And I believe that was a very ethical way to do it. With the fact that in the beginning of the review, I told everyone I got this copy for free. So obviously, I am slightly biased. I didn't have to pay for this, and I am thankful for that. So I'm going to do this as a way of thanking them. Um, so yeah, that's the way these review copies work. Not everybody gets review copies, and the criteria of who gets a review copy and who doesn't is who is actually worth giving a review copy to. In general, they will give it to the games press because they feel that it's a way for them to make money, 100%. And if they're going to send it to people that will not give that cost them money, there's no reason to do that. So Kotaku has broken the unwritten law of if you want to work in an industry, don't piss off the people in the industry. And now they're paying for it. And this is true about every industry in the world. Um, uh, I will not go into specifics because it's a great way for me to never get hired again. But I know a lot of things that have happened behind closed doors in the retail industry that are borderline illegal, that are 100% straight up illegal. And I will probably never talk about them in public simply because it is career suicide. No one will ever hire me. Not because what I did was wrong. There are actually laws that protect people that bring to light illegal practices. They're called whistleblower laws. Yeah, it technically is illegal to not hire me because I whistleblew on another company. However, uh, they just have to say, well, we're not hiring him because he's not qualified. We're not hiring him because we have someone that's better qualified. Because 100% honest, it's not that difficult to find a better qualified candidate, especially in this work pool. I don't have a ton of qualifications. So if I was to talk about this stuff, I would be blacklisted. That's how the world works. If I told, like, during an interview, if I told, my future boss, I'm like, hey, the reason I left my old job was because my boss was a moron. They're not going to hire me. Not because I don't know what I'm doing, but you don't badmouth the company you were at before. It's simply bad because they're going to assume that you're going to badmouth them later on, and there's no reason to do that. So this is just how the world works, and Kotaku is upset because they did things specifically to make money, and now they're paying for it. And unfortunately, they're going to pay quite a bit because coverage of really, really big games like the Assassin's Creed games and Fallout 4, those generate a ton of page views, which turns into dollars for them. So they're mad that they can't make money the easiest way possible. Now they have to do a little bit more work and they have to play nice. The leaks that they've put out have not been leaks like Edward Snowden, the government has been surveilling the entire country illegally. No, these are screenshots of a game that's massively, massively in pre-production that isn't meant to be released for a couple years, that gave no one information that they would not have gotten eventually. These guys are not pioneers. These guys are not, freedom fighters or anything like that. They're people looking to make money, and now they're mad that they have to work harder to make that money. I 100% side with Bethesda and Ubisoft. I think Kotaku is a massive, massive issue in general. I personally have a huge problem with most of journalism right now because it's so massively biased. No matter which side you look at, if you look at conservative news journals, they're going to be massively biased on the conservative side. If you look at liberal news journals, they're going to be massively biased on the liberal side. They will give you only half the information, if that. They will discredit the people that are giving you the other half of the information whenever they can, and they will spin it whatever way that makes people think the way they want them to think. Journalism is no longer about getting information out. Journalism is another form of marketing. It's 100% what it is. So now we've got people over at Forms Games and people at Kotaku who are part of a marketing department. They don't really realize that's what it is that they're doing, but yes, they are part of marketing because they're no longer about putting information out there. And now that people are starting to wise up that they are no longer worth the effort it takes to keep them in this marketing position, they're getting fired, which is exactly what would happen to me if I went to a company and I was not making the money anymore. That's how the world works. So yes, I am really, really pissed off with all the stuff that's happening with Kotaku because it's just a group of spoiled brats that are mad that they now have to work harder to make their money. The other thing that is kind of I guess, colored me to this particular issue is how Kotaku reacted to Boogie 2988. He made kind of an offhand comment where he's like, that's really funny that, you guys are getting mad about being blacklisted when you blacklisted me. And they went all out attack on him. They're like, we never blacklisted you. You're a liar. They said I think the exact quote was something effective. I don't know where that lie came from, but we never blacklisted you, which was a bold-faced lie. So they went and they attacked Boogie, and Boogie got really upset about it. Made a video that was actually really interesting. I have the utmost respect for Boogie, so I'm going to be biased in his favor always because he's worked so hard to be a very ethical person and media personality. He's very, very clear about everything that he does. And he's very open and honest about a lot of the issues that he's had, which is very difficult. So yeah, after watching Kotaku cry like little babies and then attack someone that I have the utmost respect for, they're done. I'm never going to click on another Kotaku article again because they simply do not deserve the page view. They don't. I vehemently encourage anyone watching this to stop supporting Kotaku by reading their articles. I'm probably not going to be going to Forbes Games for a while because it is so offensive that the article I read, because I read this giant thing about Kotaku. The article I think is called "Kotaku is Right to Go Public About Being Blacklisted," where they basically talk about, well, we need to bring these practices to light because people need to know. People already know that's how it works. Anyone that works in the industry knows that's how it works. Anyone that doesn't work in the industry, it actually doesn't matter if they know that's how it works or not. It's the same thing as me telling everyone that if a customer comes, when I was a manager in retail, if a customer came and complained to me about an associate, whether they were right or wrong, the reaction was always the same. Unless the customer themselves were doing something that I could kick them out of the store for, this was my reaction every single time. Thank you, sir or madam. We appreciate finding out about this. Obviously, we can't keep track of our associates 100% of the time, so we really do rely on customers like you to let us know what's going on so we can give you the best experience possible. I will take care of this, and I will make sure that the appropriate steps are taken in response to what you've told me. And if they ask anything further, it's like, well, I want them fired. I want to know what's going to happen. My response is always, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to disclose any sort of disciplinary actions that we take. It's part of their contract, and it's part of good business. I'm very sorry. That's just how we work. However, I can tell you appropriate steps will be taken. And then what happens is I take the associate into the office in front of the customer so that they can see that I'm actually doing this. And then I find out what actually fucking happened. And 99% of the time, the associate would turn to me and say, "This is exactly what happened." I would go, "Listen, customers are dicks. That's how it works. However, they're the dicks that write our paychecks. So, what you did was 100% right. You did exactly what I told you to do, and I'm happy about that. Unfortunately, the customer got upset. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you just stay in here for a little while so that we can pretend I punished you. All right, so just stay in here for a little while. We're going to wait for the customer to leave and then just go back to whatever it is you were doing. You're not in trouble. You did nothing wrong. However, they need to think that they are important. And that's how it works. Now, if I tell everybody in the world that that's what happens, is that going to make the customer do anything? No, they're still going to react the exact same way because we have an entitled mindset in this country where the customer is always right and they deserve to feel special. And that's just how it works. And it has nothing to do with me having scorn or anything for the customer themselves. It has everything to do with the fact that this person was behaving in a manner that was beyond the realm of logic and reason, and I had to do something to diffuse the situation. And so that's exactly what I do. And I did that probably a dozen times per year in my career in retail. It was just that's how it worked. Um, and it didn't hurt the customer at all because they felt that they were getting the treatment they deserved. It didn't hurt the employee at all because the employee was doing exactly what they were supposed to, and the customer doesn't need to know absolutely everything that happens behind the scenes. It can create legal problems if I tell them. So yes, this idea that we have to know that the industry does this. Everybody knows the industry does this because it's a common practice in every single industry. If you cost somebody money, they won't let you do it again. It's bullshit. It's baloney. It annoys the fuck out of me that this is getting. They're getting praised for this, and they're getting told that they're getting pitched off as if they're doing this massive service to the consumer by letting them know this happens. No, not giving out review copies does not hurt the final product whatsoever. And to be 100% honest, it actually makes the developer's job slightly easier because they don't have to worry about releasing a game and then getting told, well, you guys are horrible people because your game sets in Europe, where it's mostly white people, is racist because there's not enough people of color in there. And this is what you see. So no, I don't believe they should get review copies. I think more companies should follow suit and just stop giving Kotaku review copies so that they actually have to work and hopefully earn back the reputation of being ethical journalists instead of the clickbait that they are. I'm really sorry this has been such a long vlog, but this is something that really, really upsets me. If for no other reason than I have just been called by a publisher that I used to respect a liar and joining a group of liars, which is completely false. The idea that I was a salesman for many years, and they've actually done studies. Everyone thinks salesmen are completely dishonest, that they only care about making money. That is 100% a falsehood. They've done studies and they found out the most ethical people in most companies are salesmen. The least ethical people are generally managers, which is really funny because I went from salesman to manager. However, I'm still ethical, so stop that. Yeah, so the idea that these people in marketing are just liars that are trying to steal your money is wrong. The most successful people in marketing learn how to take the good aspects of a product, even if it's a bad product. There are people that are going to enjoy it and are going to use it. And a good marketing person will find the group that is actually going to enjoy it and actually going to get their money's worth out of it, and they will market to them specifically, and they will tell them exactly what it is that they will get out of it without having to lie about anything. That's what I want to do. That's why I'm getting into marketing. And this piece about the idea that journalists and marketing people have to be at odds is the dumbest piece of steaming pile of horse shit I have ever heard. And it's written by someone who has absolutely no idea how the industry works. And they've simply decided that they know how everything works because that's the way they want it to work. So that's all for me today. I will see you guys tomorrow for another daily vlog. All right. Bye-bye.